perfect time to do this late at night. So here I am again. I'm about to torture myself because, well, I haven't been posting constantly. So, um, here's another good, scary little reaction towards this time is Snarled. Our good old friend Snarled loves to creep the shiz out of us. So, this one is going to be with Markia this time, but I love Sapphire. I do, I truly do. I'm a diehard Sapphire fan now. But this one is titled It Comes at Night. I'm gonna have to remember that because there's so many movies that are like titled that. And I'm hoping that this comes up when I look for it. But anywho, let's go ahead and get it started.
Hey, I'm Markia. Want to hear something scary?
Let me full screen it.
It comes at night.
I'm scared.
Sometimes what we think a person is feeling does not actually reflect what lies inside
Turn
them.
this down.
Sometimes it's all much worse than we could ever have imagined.
Okay.
Daryl and Andy had been dating for a few months now, but there was just one issue. Andy never
Okay.
wanted Daryl to spend the night at his apartment. Although Andy denied it, Daryl wondered if he was worried about his neighbors knowing he was gay. Whenever sunset approached, Andy would weirdly rush Daryl out of his house. One evening, Daryl asked Andy about it, and it immediately got uncomfortable. Andy's body tensed. Daryl felt a cold sweat prickling at the base of his neck, sensing Andy's annoyance. He braced himself for their first fight, as Andy's eyes turned steely and cold. But then they warmed just as fast as it had happened, and Andy calmly said, "Just not tonight, babe. Maybe another time." Daryl was confused. It made him feel like
What
he
you
wasn't
hide?
good enough, despite him being a
Oh.
surgeon at a hospital a few blocks away. Deflated, but thankful to have avoided their first argument, he went home. One night, after a particularly exhausting surgery, Daryl couldn't face the long drive home, and he thought Andy should value his safety over appearances.
That must be a lot of
So he
pressure
showed up
on
at
them.
Andy's door after sundown. As he
Imagine
approached
having
the
to do
door,
surgery.
the apartment was unusually quiet and dark. As he lifted his hand to knock, the door shot
Let
open
me put this
and an
down
icy
before I
breeze
spill
hit Daryl
this.
in the face. Andy coldly stood in the doorframe. "Why are you here?" he questioned
Oh?
quietly and intensely, as if not
Why
wanting to
not
alert
tone
anyone
voice?
else to Daryl's presence. Daryl saw the flash in Andy's eyes again. He
Wouldn't you be
explained he
happy
was
to
too
see you?
exhausted to drive home and didn't care if Andy didn't want the neighbors to see his gay black boyfriend coming out of the house in the morning. He just wanted to
Oh.
get some rest. Andy's stiff, cold stature softened and his brow unfurrowed. He stepped to the side and let Daryl in. "I'm not
I feel
embarrassed of
something
you,
very off
but you
about
must do
this.
everything exactly as I tell you, okay? It's very
Something
important to
doesn't feel
my
right. Why is he giving
schedule."
instructions like this?
Andy laid out the rules.
Schedule?
Lights out at 10 p.m., no leaving the bedroom before sunrise, not even to use the bathroom, and they must sleep facing away from each other. These rules were pretty odd, but Daryl quickly fell asleep, only faintly aware that Andy was wide awake, watching him. Daryl awoke in the
Okay.
middle of the night, his back burning and sticky like it was bleeding. He tried to
Huh?
move, but he was frozen. His eyes searched for Andy as a scream stuck in his lungs.
Is this
There
like
was
a
something
nightmare
holding him
attack,
down
or
and clawing at his back, making
oh, he
ribbons
must have
of his
sleep,
skin.
or is this
Andy
like sleep
was nowhere in
paralysis
sight,
that's
but in the
happening
mirror
right
next
now?
to the bed, he could make out a tall, twisted creature with knife-like nails, fiery red eyes, and a sinister smile on its face. He tried to scream, but nothing came out. Before he passed out, Daryl had a disturbing thought. The creature, it looked eerily familiar.
It's him.
He woke again with a start and saw Andy sitting on his knees next to Daryl's side of the bed, crying. "I'm sorry. I never wanted this for you." Andy began to explain. For years, he had been possessed by a
Something-
parasitic demon who contorts and morphs his body at night after the sun goes down. Thirsting for
Ooh.
blood, it preys on those who are asleep,
Oh no.
paralyzing them as it tears them apart. Daryl now understood why Andy never wanted him to stay past sunset. Daryl ran to the mirror to check his back, wondering why he was no longer in pain. The wounds were gone. Andy informed him, although the demon would inflict suffering during the night, somehow any evidence was gone by morning. Telling Daryl had given Andy strength.
That's bad.
They decided they needed to do something immediately and called an exorcist who said he could come that night. Confident he could rid them of their problem, the priest strapped Andy to a chair and began an old chant.
This. I don't know.
Slowly, Andy's body began to twist. His skin shriveled and darkened. Fires ignited in his eyes. The bones of his fingers pierced his skin, growing to the shape of long knives. Its sinister smile cracked in agony as the exorcist chanted. The demon let out a loud, high-pitched screech, breaking its body free of the restraints, and it leapt to his feet, growing to be 9 feet tall. Yet, the unrelenting priest continued his prayer. Before anyone could act, Andy, still twisted into demon form, advanced upon the priest. He drove sword-like fingers into the man's chest with a wet, swishing sound of bone-piercing skin. With this action, Andy's body returned to normal. Daryl rushed over to check the injury, but similar to his own disappearing wounds, the exorcist was seemingly unharmed, despite the obvious violence. The man looked at Andy for one long moment, and then fled the house, slamming the door shut behind him. Daryl and Andy fell into each other's arms, unsure of what had transpired, but just relieved to be safe. They decided the next morning to go to the exorcist seminary to thank him. When they arrived, they were met with a gruesome scene. Bodies everywhere torn to shreds, blood splatter covering the walls and ceilings. The priest was never seen again, but it seemed in its new body, the demon now wasn't afraid to leave behind a bloody trail of evidence.
Oh, wow. Damn. So, so the priest ends up taking his demon just by performing that action that it did on him. Just clawing right into. This gave me like, it looked like he was. I didn't know if this was like the boyfriend having sleep paralysis, it seemed like, or I don't know, it just seems like it was just off. I was just like, okay, so it might have been something off about the person that they're talking to, or that it's some type of sleep paralysis like they're suffering from. I don't know. I'm not like, a like dream expert or anything of that nature, but that was wild. That was wild. Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, that concludes it for that. Thank you guys for watching. I can't wait to watch the next one with you. I will see you guys in the next one.